What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, and welcome back to another 40K video. As you can see in the thumbnail, Gershwin and I finally had our epic 8th edition battle. I say epic, but you'll see what ended up transpiring. So what we like to do is we like to have a massive battle between his orcs and my Tau each edition, and we had to wait a little bit longer, more so for this edition than the others, because just recently the orcs got their 8th edition codex, and it was time. And I learned that, wow, they are pretty powerful. So of course the orcs got a brand new codex, brand spanking new rules, their stratagems, and all in all, his codex greatly improved the orcs from what I remember. How when my codex for the Tau didn't really do much. If anything, it put more of a hindrance on the Tau. But I digress. Anyway, let's get into the battle. So it was going to be a kill point battle, 4,000 points of orcs against 4,000 points of Tau. And in this aspect, he has a little bit of an advantage because I only have 4,000 points of Tau, and he doesn't only have 4,000 points. He has a lot more orcs. So because of that, he had a greater pool to draw from, so to speak, between models, because I basically had to use everything that I had. So he knew what I was bringing. With me, I knew I was gonna go up against hordes, but at the same time, if I get caught in close combat, I'm done for. So I had to do everything I could to create basically a firing line. If anything got too close to me, I had to shoot it down, or else that'd be the end of it. So because of that, we ended up playing long ways on the terrain, which if you go to our Facebook page, you can see the picture of what the terrain looked like. Pretty much on one side, we had buildings. In the middle, it was like a no man's land, not really much terrain. And then on the other half, or on the final third of the terrain, it was more like mountainous, kind of like rocky caverns and stuff like that. So I luckily won the roll-off, so I decided to set up in the cityscape for 3 reasons. Number one, I wasn't going to move out of there. It provided cover, and it also provided me with a higher advantage in shooting, like line of sight and stuff like that. 2, the way we play buildings is like it's 3 inches to move up a level or up a story. So I knew I was going to get charged, or he was going to want to get me in close combat. So because of this, I had to put my top, like the most valuable things, up in the top, so that I knew that if he wanted to charge me, he'd have to move those 3 inches up each level to get to me, thus making charging me even more harder. And then finally, I knew that with all the buildings there, if he did do his jump tactic, which is have a psychic orc basically teleport a whole mob of 30 boys right up in my grill, with the buildings so close there, it was going to be hard for him to maneuver that many orcs around. So that's why I decided to go over in this area as opposed to the rockiness. So yeah, I ended up going first. I put everything except 2 units out on the board. The other 2 were in the manta ray. So let's talk about what I brought. Now, again, this isn't the most viable. I know there's way better options out there, but like I said, this is all the models that I had for the Tau at my disposal. So, just letting you know. So beginning with, I was using my Farsight enclaves. Of course, Farsight is my favorite enclave, and I gotta represent. So it's not the best competitive, but again, I had to go with Farsight. So my commander and warlord was Commander Farsight. I had a commander in a crisis suit with a missile pod, shield generator, and a plasma rifle. And then I had another one, same thing, missile pod, plasma rifle. This time this one had an iridium battlesuit. And then I had another commander with 4 fusion blasters, and this was the Cold Star. So I had a bunch of commanders, and I was pretty much playing Unbound, because, you know, the way things worked with my models, it just ended up being that way. For troops, I had to proxy some of my drones as a 12-man Fire Warrior squad. And then I had a Riptide, 2 squads of 3 stealth battlesuits, 3 units of crisis suits. One had triple burst cannon per model. Another one had plasma rifle and missile pod. And then the final unit of crisis suit was flamer, burst cannon, and missile pod. And then continuing on and finishing off the elites, I had a ghost keel. For fast attack, I needed marker light support. I knew I needed that. So I had 2 squads of 4 marker drones. And then for the heavies, I had 2 squads of broadsides. One was a 3-man team with missiles and missiles. The other one was a single model with the rail rifle, the heavy one. And of course, I had to put the cherry on top with my Lord of War, the Storm Surge. So deployment was key because I knew there was going to be certain avenues where he could only come in through. So I had to have like a good line of sight. And on top of this, I needed my Storm Surge and my broadsides to have good firing ranges, because those are going to do a lot of work. So I kind of put my drones next to him, that way I can buff them up with my marker lights. Since I ended up going first, I ended up deploying first, and of course he's an Ork player, so he had more units than I did. So I ended up, or he didn't steal the initiative, so I ended up going first. I did horrible my first turn. I think this was the beginning of the end this early in the match, because I only killed 1 unit, and I brought another one of his trucks down to a single wound. I whiffed so bad during this game, or at least this first turn. Like, I fired with everything, and I could barely kill 1 unit. It's like, okay, I need a 2 to hit. I got 4 ones. It was just horrible. So at that point, it was 2 for the Tau, and we were both I think we were both set up on 10 command points. We just decided to, have a good variety of options available to us. So 10 command points were given to each of us. So on Gershwin's first turn, he basically moved everything forward, and I think he got like 4 points. He took out the broadsides, which those were his number 1. Well, first he fired everything at Farsight because he wanted to get that Slay the Warlord kill, and then he took out my broadsides and a unit of crisis suits. That really sucked because my broadsides were pivotal in what I needed them to do, and they were already gone the first turn. So jumping into turn 2, things went from bad to a little bit better. I ended up hitting more. I ended up killing, I think, 3 or 4 units, because at this point I was feeling good, because once again I beat him in kill points. So I went from 2 to 0 on my turn, and then I went from like 4 to 2, and then back I had like I don't know. I did better. I thought, okay, I have a chance. I could take him on. And then came his turn 2, and he just completely demolished me. He was getting charges off. He was literally just systematically picking me off. He was using, I want to say, the Bad Moon ability, which is you get to re-roll 1s, and 5 and 6s give you an extra attack. So that was devastating. Shooting with 30 boys, re-rolling and getting additional attacks is just icing on the cake. So before turn 2 was even over, I called it, because basically anything he pointed at was just dying. There's nothing I can do, and yeah. So at the end of this game, they took it. They were gonna table me hands down in turn 3. So there's no way for me to win. and I would have lost even more so if we were playing like an objective game, because you could literally just camp in an objective, and I had no way of, claiming these. But yeah, now I know things would have been different if I found out that, I had access to more fire warriors, or the maybe chapter approved. That would have helped me even more, because there's a bunch of points drops. Sometimes there even as much as half has been dropped. So because of that, maybe I would have been able to bring more and maybe do more damage. But who knows? That's a game for another day. So yeah, let me know if you guys have played against orcs in 8th edition, and also let me know how those games went for you guys. And yeah, that's all I have for today. I got my butt whooped, and maybe I'll do better next time. This is the Sound Alchemist, and I'll see ya tomorrow.